Introduction to World Religion and Belief Systems. The Theravada Buddhism. Have you ever thought about life and the world that we are living is full of struggle? And from time to time, we are suffering. We will try to discover why the concept of suffering is very important in the Buddhist tradition or Buddhism. There are misconceptions and misunderstanding about Buddhism. Some would say this is about philosophy in life. It's a lifestyle that you have to live in with you every day. Or those who are adhering or believing or having a faith in the Buddhist tradition. Some says that Buddhism is a religion because of the beliefs, ethics, and rituals that are part of the everyday life of those people who are practicing the tradition. This is the first question in studying Buddhism. Is it a religion or philosophy? As you notice, Buddhism is something of an enigma. It is a religion without God, but a tradition that offers spirituality and ethical path. Some adherents prefer to call their way a philosophy of life rather than a religion. It has beliefs, ethics, and rituals and deals with the ultimate questions as well as everyday life spirituality. Buddhism is a way to enlightenment or awakening. This was first taught by Siddhartha Gautama, the first Buddha, about 2,500 years ago. Siddhartha Gautama left his family and riches to seek truth and inner peace, dwelling with Hindu holy men for some time. So it means that he came from the Hindu tradition. He emerged from the spiritual ferment of the time in India with a new kind of teaching. And so something happened to him and he stepped out from the Hindu tradition. He stepped aside from Hindu teaching and taught a new way. The emphasis is upon the individual, the mind, and the inner life to seek calmness, cleansing, and virtue. The Buddha, meaning enlightened one, taught a middle way between asceticism and luxury, having said that it is a balance and a poise for life. As we had earlier, Buddhism has no God. It's a big question having a religion that has no idea or a concept of God. Yes, there is no deity in Buddhism. This can shock and confuse the interested outsider from a theistic background. It can attract and enthuse someone from an agnostic or even atheistic background to join or be part of the tradition, this religious tradition. What is the reason behind this? It is because Buddha placed Dharma above the gods, the way above theology and metaphysical speculations. It would not be fair to call him an atheist, more an agnostic. He chose to sidestep talk of deities and spoke only of the path. So there is no questions, there is no asking, there is no teaching or belief about deities, but it only speak of the path, the way. Though Buddhism is not talking about God or deities, it doesn't mean that they are not affirming spiritual reality. There is an affirmed spiritual reality and the need for transcendence. It means that for adherents or believers of Buddhism, they are part of something much bigger, vaster, and mysterious. And so there is an ineffable side to the cosmos. Looking closely, Buddhists believe in a personal path or a way. It is a way to find inner peace and to escape from cravings and clinging to material world or what they call desire. There is a philosophy underlying this quest which sees the world as a place of suffering, distorted and full of illusion. The individual will go through a series of reincarnations until they attain enlightenment and can escape the cycle of rebirth. Buddhism is a philosophy that so emphasizes the way that all beliefs and speculations become secondary to what can be applied to the inner life and personal development. Remember that the motto is what works rather than what is out there. Let us have a closer look of the beginnings of Buddhism, particularly Siddhartha Gautama's journey to asceticism. And this is also the beginning of the Theravada Buddhism. We all know that Buddhism is the fourth largest of the world's religions, with about 350 million followers. And like Hinduism, its influence extends far beyond the actual numbers. Theravada Buddhism, the most traditional conservative form today, is found primarily in Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia. Although some of its followers intermingled animistic beliefs and practices, Theravada Buddhism is essentially non theistic, as we have said earlier, believing that enlightenment must be achieved by one's own efforts without supernatural assistance. Buddhism began in India, though considered today as a minority. It started as a reform movement within Hinduism but developed into a separate religion. Its founder, Siddhartha Gautama, was born into a family of a Raja, a minor ruler. Gautama was born in the foothills of the Himalayas at Lumbini, northern India, which is now known as Nepal. There were many legends about the life of Siddhartha Gautama and his quest for spirituality. According to tradition, at his birth, it was foretold that if he saw only beauty and youth, he would become a great king. But if he saw disease and death, he would become a religious teacher. Since his father preferred the former outcome, Gautama grew up in an extremely sheltered environment, rarely leaving the walls of his palace or his abode. He married and had a son, but around age 30, he became restless with his confined life. He slipped out and deeply disturbed by seeing sick and dead people in the area, in his hometown, in his place. He left his family and took up the life of a wandering monk. He tried philosophy, then the most extreme forms of asceticism. One legend claims that during this period, he lived on one daily grain of rice. Imagine a one grain of rice a day. However, even this did not bring him the answers he sought. He gave up asceticism, he ate a meal, and sat under the shade of a tree to meditate. And that tree is called the Bodhi tree for now. Finally, through meditation, Gautama found enlightenment and became the Buddha, meaning the enlightened one. The Buddha was about 35 when he was so illuminated and spent the rest of his life spreading his teaching and gathering disciples. He rejected the authority of the Vedas of Hinduism and said both men and women from any case had the potential to attain enlightenment. The Buddha's followers quickly separated from the parent religion, which is Hinduism. Like other Indian faiths, Buddhism accepted karma and reincarnation. Life's goal was to become free of the endless cycle, the birth, death, and rebirth. But whereas Hinduism believes ultimately reality is the sum of everything, the Buddha taught that ultimate reality is a void or nothingness. The Hindu goal of moksha, oneness with Brahman, is replaced with nirvana, extinguishing or ceasing to exist. And say, or most of the people in the Western world would say, this may not seem to be appealing in today's prosperous time. If life truly is suffering, as Buddhism teaches, then not having to return to it again and again is indeed preferable. During the period of meditation, the Buddha developed what he called the Four Noble Truths. The Buddha's first sermon was at Sarnath near Banaras. This is known as the fire sermon, for he declared that all of the world is on fire with cravings and passion, the desire. He outlined the Four Noble Truths in the form of a medical examination of his day with a statement of the problem and a prescription of a remedy. Number one of the Four Noble Truths is the dukkha or suffering. Number two is the craving. Number three is the cessation. And number four is the middle way. Now, let us try to dissect these Four Noble Truths. Dukkha or the suffering is all life involves suffering. What you are having is suffering. What you are experiencing is suffering. Everything, all life involves suffering. There is suffering between you and the cosmos, between you and the others, between you and the plants, between you and your parents. All life involves suffering. And to put it in simpler ways or terms, life consists of suffering and pain. One interesting in the suffering or dukkha is the craving, which is the second noble truth. Craving is the origin of dukkha, the false attachment. This is the desire. This is the reason why we suffer. Again, this is the reason why we suffer. Why there is suffering and pain? It is because of our cravings. Because we have certain desires that makes us suffer. Again, the origin of dukkha is our cravings. Whatever we suffer, it is because of our desire. Our attachments with those who are not really intended for a life, intended for the growth of life. That is why we call that, or the Buddhists call that, the false attachments. Gautama Buddha did not stop there, naming the suffering or the dukkha and its origin, but it has a cure. It has a cure for suffering, which is to stop the craving, and he called it the cessation. The way to end suffering is ceasing to desire or crave things. Again, the way to end suffering is ceasing to desire or craving things. Why we suffer? Because we are craving. And to stop this craving, we have to cease it. There is a need for the cessation of our cravings and not to suffer. And the fourth noble truth is the middle way. With the life of Buddha, Buddha had known luxury and asceticism. It is the exact opposite of the two, the exact polarity. But Buddha is teaching the middle way, a way of avoiding extremes. And this middle way is composed of eightfold paths or steps that will guide a person, a man, a woman, a human being to avoid both extremes of indulgence and asceticism. The Buddha taught a set of 8 precepts to guide people through the middle way. Number one is that they should have a right view. For Buddha, it is important for man, a woman, a person to understand the Four Noble Truths because here or this is the beginning of having a right view. Number two, it is important for humans to have a right intention. Be committed to the path. Be committed to the noble eightfold path. Number three, right speech. Always speak the truth and be positive. Number four, path. Right action. Be kind to all living things and be clear minded. Again, be kind to all living things, humans, animals, plants. You have to be kind. You must have a right action towards them. Number five, right livelihood. Earn your living ethically. Number six, right effort. Avoid harmful thoughts. Number seven, right mindfulness. Live in reality and be aware of people around you. And number eight, right contemplation. Train the mind to be free from hatred and greed. These are seen as a series of steps, a path for the Buddhists, for Gautama Buddha to be shared, to be taught. The first two tell Buddhists to take the teaching seriously, and the next three are about how we act, and the last three are about training the mind. The teachings of the Buddha, as written down by his disciples, elaborate on this eightfold path, and it is believed that following it properly will result enlightenment and release from reincarnation. For Theravada Buddhism, they hold that enlightenment can be achieved only through human effort. Its temples are for meditation and reflection rather than worship. Gautama said that if gods did exist, they live in a different sphere of existence and had their own karma to deal with. They were no benefit to humans. There was no point in being concerned about or worshiping them. Since the Eightfold Path requires profound discipline and commitment, few follow it consistently, unfortunately, among the Buddhists. The monks live out the ideal Buddhist life and lay people support the monks. Over the years, Buddhism has developed a concept of merit or good karma, which is supposed to improve one's spiritual life in the next reincarnation. Supporting the monks is thought to help a person gain more merit. You know, in Thailand, young men are expected to spend 1 or 2 years living a monk life before they marry and settle down. It is important to the family that they do this since the merit they gain through this service is believed to benefit them all, the family. The monks' practices are intended to avoid all karma, good or bad. For any karma is a barrier to enlightenment and nirvana. Ang sabi, si Siddhartha Gautama ay nag-meditate, naging ascetic, hindi siya kumain. Kumbaga ay nagdasal lang siya ng nagdasal. Pero bakit yung mga nakikita nating estatwa ng Buddha matataba? Bakit pangkaraniwan na nakikita natin na ang estatwa ng Buddha ay mataba? Bakit nga kaya?